Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. You know that feeling when you think you've done everything right, flowers, compliments, attention, and yet somehow she drifts further away. It's like you can see the connection slipping through your fingers but can't figure out why. It's frustrating, isn't it? That quiet ache when you realize that what you thought would win her over isn't working. And it's not just about one woman. It's about all those moments where you felt you were close to something beautiful, only to watch it fade. That's what we're going to talk about today, the subtle truths most men overlook. This isn't about cliches or quick tips. It's about understanding what truly moves a woman's heart in ways that only a few men really master. Because here's the reality, there are things women love deeply, things that ignite their desire, respect, and loyalty, but only about 2% of men naturally do them. That's why this matters, whether you're dating in your 30s, rebuilding after heartbreak, or simply wanting deeper, more fulfilling relationships. It's not about tactics, it's about seeing yourself clearly, cultivating masculine energy, and showing up in ways that reflect emotional strength and authenticity. You might be surprised at how small adjustments can unlock a whole new level of attraction and intimacy. So, let's sink into this together, not rushing, not trying to fix or manipulate, but truly understanding. And as we explore, I want you to listen not just to the words, but to yourself, to the places where you might feel a gentle discomfort or a quiet insight. That's where growth happens. Let's begin with the first thing that women love, but that almost no man does consistently: emotional presence. I'm not talking about being nice or polite or checking in from time to time. I'm talking about a presence that feels grounded, attentive, and non-reactive. Most men show up physically, but their minds are scattered. They think they're connecting, but their eyes wander to their phones, their thoughts drift to work, their energy feels fragmented. Women feel that disconnection immediately, even if you're sitting right in front of them. Presence is rare because it requires self-discipline. It requires you to set aside your agenda, your desire to impress, and simply be fully with her in this moment, with nothing else pulling you away. That kind of presence is intoxicating. It's why women lean in when a man speaks slowly, when he holds pauses, when he makes them feel like they are the only thing that matters in that instant. It's not about dominance or control, it's about depth, and the stoic man understands this. He knows that to cultivate a powerful connection, he must first master his own attention. He must be fully where he is, no distractions, no rush. In a world where attention spans are shrinking and everyone is multitasking, your ability to hold space quietly, calmly, and fully is magnetic. You don't need perfect words, you don't need big gestures, you simply need to be present with steadiness and intention. Now let's move deeper, to something that almost no one teaches men, yet women feel it immediately: secure detachment. This is the second thing women love that only a few men do well. Secure detachment doesn't mean you're cold or aloof. It means you have your own center, your own life, your own grounding, so you don't need her approval or validation to feel okay about yourself. When you're secure in your detachment, you can love her without clinging. You can listen to her without rushing to fix everything. You can hold your own opinions and boundaries without fear of losing her. This is so rare because most men, without realizing it, chase connection from a place of insecurity. They try too hard to please, to smooth over conflict, to become what they think she wants, and in doing so, they lose themselves. Women can sense that energy. It feels anxious, needy, even if disguised as generosity. But a man who loves without needing approval, he becomes irresistible, he is rooted, he can walk away if he's not respected, but he doesn't have to posture or threaten to do so. His power lies in his calm self-assurance. That kind of masculine energy radiates quietly, and it draws women in without force or manipulation. And here's where it ties back to presence. When you're secure in yourself, your presence becomes even more profound. You're not distracted by doubts or internal stories. You're simply here, steady, clear self, contained, and women love this. If you want her to feel attracted, not just impressed, you have to embody this paradox. You care deeply but don't cling. You're engaged but not dependent. You're connected but not controlled by the connection itself. And you'll notice that this changes everything. Your conversations feel more natural, your silences become comfortable rather than awkward, your decisions come from a place of quiet confidence rather than desperate hope. She feels this even before she can articulate it. It's why so few men ever get to this level of connection, because it requires a deeper relationship with yourself first. You can't fake presence, you can't pretend secure detachment, you have to live it. You have to practice it in small moments, pausing before you speak, noticing your breathing when emotions run high, feeling your feet on the ground during a tense exchange. And in doing so, you will slowly become that rare kind of man, a man who isn't performing, a man who doesn't need to control, a man who can love generously while staying true to himself. That's where we begin today, with emotional presence and secure detachment. These are not easy practices, but they are worth it, and they form the foundation for all the other things we're going to explore together. When you integrate these qualities, you'll begin to notice something fascinating. Women relax around you. They open up more easily. They feel safe, but they also feel excitement, because your steadiness allows them to express more of themselves. You'll start seeing signs that she's attracted to you in a deeper way. Not just a flirtatious glance or polite conversation, but a genuine leaning in. And this isn't about playing a game or following rules. It's about becoming a man who invites trust and desire simply by how you show up in every moment. And so, as we let these ideas settle for a moment, I want you to notice, where in your life are you present and where are you distracted? Where are you rooted in yourself, and where are you still looking for external validation? These are not questions to answer quickly, but to hold quietly as we continue. Because the journey of becoming that rare, attractive, deeply masculine man begins with awareness, and that's exactly where we are right now. Now that we've begun to uncover these essential truths, we can gently continue forward. And as we continue, it's important to understand that presence and secure detachment are just the beginning. They prepare the soil, but what grows from that ground, the kind of attraction that feels natural and enduring, requires more. Women are intuitive. They're constantly reading what's beneath your words and actions. They want to feel your strength, but also your vulnerability in a way that feels integrated, authentic, and safe. The next thing women love, but very few men ever master, is emotional congruence. This is where your words, actions, tone, and energy all align. How many times have you seen a man say, "I'm fine," when clearly his energy says otherwise, or a man tries to be charming, but underneath is bitterness or resentment? Women pick this up instantly, often faster than they even realize themselves. They don't always know exactly what's off, but they feel that something isn't aligned, and it creates a quiet resistance, a subtle closing of the heart. Most men don't realize how much of their behavior is incongruent. They suppress emotions to seem strong. They agree outwardly while resenting inwardly. They act confident while feeling insecure. Women feel that split, and here's the paradox. It's not the vulnerability itself that turns them off. It's the hiding. It's the pretense. A man can feel anxious, uncertain, sad, even scared. But if he owns it, if he acknowledges it without shame, if his words match his state, it creates trust. She might not consciously say, "Ah, he's emotionally congruent," but she feels safe in his energy because she can sense that what she sees is what she gets. When you can speak honestly without being controlled by your feelings, you become rare, A man who says, I'm feeling a little insecure today, but I'm still glad we're here together, carries a quiet confidence that most men lack, because that man isn't pretending, he's embracing the full range of his humanity without apology. And that makes her lean in, not because you're perfect, but because you're real. This emotional congruence is connected to another rare but magnetic quality, holding boundaries without aggression. This is the fourth thing women deeply love, but that very few men embody. Boundaries, when done right, are not about controlling others, they're about respecting yourself. But too many men swing between two extremes. Either they're passive, avoiding conflict and allowing disrespect to go unchecked, or they react aggressively, overcorrecting with anger when they finally feel pushed too far. Neither creates attraction. One drains respect, the other creates fear or resentment. But when you can hold a boundary calmly and clearly, without aggression but with certainty, you become that rare man women trust and respect. You might say, with a steady voice, I'm not comfortable being spoken to that way, or I value my time and I need to leave if this continues. No raised voice, no threat, just clarity. And what's remarkable is that boundaries, when calmly enforced, don't push people away. They draw people closer. Women feel safer around a man who can hold his center. They might resist at first, especially if they're used to testing men, but deep down they admire it. Because boundaries signal that you know your worth. You're not afraid of conflict, but you don't seek it. You can love deeply while still honoring your own needs, and all of this, presence, secure detachment, emotional congruence, and healthy boundaries, creates a field where real intimacy can flourish. Not the surface-level connection based on fleeting attraction or charm, but the deeper bond where a woman can relax into your strength, knowing she's with a man who doesn't just say he's strong but lives it. You'll start to see a shift when you embody this way of being. Conversations will feel more relaxed because you won't be performing. You'll notice fewer misunderstandings because you're communicating from alignment, not from a place of hidden tension. Women will feel drawn to your steadiness, your clarity, your ability to express emotion without being consumed by it. And this isn't just about romantic success, it's about your relationship with yourself. The more congruent and self-respecting you become, the more peace you feel inside, regardless of external circumstances. And ironically, that very peace makes you more attractive. So as we sit here together, imagine what it would look like for you to show up this way, not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. What would it feel like to express exactly what you feel without trying to mask or hide it? How would it feel to hold a boundary without aggression, just clear and calm? These small moments define who we are far more than any words or strategies. And what makes all of this so rare is that it takes practice. Only about 2% of men ever put in the inner work to master these qualities, not because it's beyond their ability, but because it requires consistency, patience, and self-awareness. But if you choose to become that kind of man, you'll notice not only how women respond differently, but how you respond differently to yourself. Less anxious, more steady, more clear about what matters. Now, as we breathe into this, I want you to notice something subtle. The moment you stop chasing techniques and start embodying these rare qualities, you begin to shift from the outside in. And this shift doesn't go unnoticed. Women almost instinctively begin to engage with you differently, not because you're using clever lines or tricks, but because your presence itself has become more magnetic, more trustworthy, more real. The next thing that women deeply love but only a few men do with any consistency is what I would call emotional leadership. This isn't about dominance, control, or trying to be the man in some outdated, rigid sense. Emotional leadership is about setting the emotional tone of your interactions. And here's the key. Women don't just respond to what you say. They respond to how they feel when they're around you. Most men are reactive in their emotional state. If a woman's mood dips, they mirror it. If she's frustrated, they get defensive. If she pulls back, they chase harder. But women love, admire, and trust the man who can remain emotionally grounded even when she's stormy, uncertain, or even testing the boundaries of the connection. Imagine this. She's upset, frustrated, maybe even distant. A typical man will rush to fix it, get defensive, or withdraw. But that rare man, the 2% man, stays steady. He can listen without absorbing all of her emotion. He can validate her feelings without abandoning himself. He can say calmly, "I can see you're upset, and I'm here when you're ready to talk," without taking it personally or becoming reactive. This is emotional leadership. It's a powerful form of masculine energy that says, "I am the lighthouse in this moment. The storms may come, but I'm steady, clear, grounded." And women crave that steadiness, not because they can't manage their emotions, but because it allows them to fully express themselves while trusting that you won't crumble under the weight of it all. It's rare because emotional steadiness takes practice. It takes a deep connection with your own feelings so that you're not afraid of hers. It requires that you recognize the difference between empathy and enmeshment. You can feel compassion for her pain without getting swept away in it. This is what makes a man emotionally attractive at a level that goes far beyond looks, status, or charm. And as you embody this emotional leadership, something else begins to emerge: subtle assertiveness. This is the fifth thing women love, but almost no man truly understands. Subtle assertiveness isn't loud, it isn't aggressive, it isn't forceful. It's a quiet confidence that expresses what you want, where you stand, and how you feel with grace. Most men either hesitate endlessly, afraid to offend or misstep, or they overcorrect, becoming too blunt or controlling. But subtle assertiveness is about weaving your desires and intentions into the conversation naturally, while still being attuned to the moment. It's about saying, "Let's go here tonight," instead of "wherever you want is fine." It's about gently leading while staying receptive to feedback. Women love this because it creates a sense of direction, of movement, of clarity. It signals that you're a man who knows what he wants but is flexible and open, not rigid or domineering. And again, this quality comes from within. It's not about memorizing lines or strategies. It's about tuning into your own preferences, feelings, and values, and having the courage to express them calmly. This subtle assertiveness relieves women of having to carry the emotional burden of direction all the time. And it's not about making all the decisions. It's about creating a dynamic where your initiative gives her room to relax, trust, and follow when she chooses, without feeling pressured or manipulated. When you live with this level of emotional leadership and subtle assertiveness, you become that rare kind of man who makes her feel safe and alive at the same time. Safe because your steadiness creates trust, alive because your initiative creates excitement, and that's a rare combination. Most men can offer one or the other, but very few offer both. You might be wondering how you start to cultivate this. And the answer is simpler than you think, but it's not easy. It begins with self-awareness, with noticing when you're reacting rather than leading, with practicing calm expression rather than silence or aggression, with asking yourself before every interaction, "Am I showing up with my own clarity, or am I waiting for her to lead me emotionally?" This shift doesn't happen overnight, but it happens, and as you start practicing it in small moments, a conversation, a dinner plan, a disagreement, you'll notice women relaxing around you. Their defenses soften, their energy opens, they lean in more, and not because you're doing something to them, but because you've become a safe place for their own emotional expression and exploration. There's a quiet satisfaction that comes with this, not ego-driven, not performance-based, but deeply human. You'll begin to see how much smoother, calmer, and more meaningful your connections become, how the drama fades away, how your relationships evolve from transactional or surface level to something more nourishing for both of you. You become the man who is both respected and desired, trusted and admired, the kind of man who doesn't need to seek constant reassurance, because your own presence becomes your greatest source of confidence. That's where we are now, right in the heart of this transformation. As you sit here listening, reflect quietly. When was the last time you felt emotionally steady when things got stormy? When was the last time you expressed what you truly wanted, gently but clearly, without apology or hesitation? This reflection isn't meant to criticize, it's meant to illuminate, because once you become aware, everything changes. Women can feel when a man is becoming this version of himself, not just practicing tactics, but living from a deeper place of alignment and strength. And that's where the deepest kind of connection begins. It's fascinating, isn't it? Once you start seeing this pattern presence, secure detachment, emotional congruence, emotional leadership, and subtle assertiveness, you begin to realize why so few men truly master the art of connection. It's not about saying the right thing or doing the right thing. It's about being the right man internally. When you embody this way of relating, everything else, her attraction, her trust, her willingness to open her heart, follows naturally. But there's something deeper still, something almost invisible to most men but profoundly felt by women. And this is what I want to lean into next, a quiet appreciation for mystery. Women love a man who knows himself deeply but doesn't feel the need to explain himself fully, a man who lets her discover him gradually, layer by layer. Only a very small percentage of men do this well, because most fall into one of two traps. They either hide completely, becoming distant and cold, or they overshare in an attempt to build intimacy too quickly. But that small group of rare men, they understand that emotional intimacy is built slowly, not by dumping every thought and feeling on the table at once, but by revealing themselves at a pace that feels natural, grounded, and respectful. They understand that being an open book doesn't mean there's no depth to explore. This kind of mystery is not a game. It's not about withholding artificially or being cryptic just for effect. It's about holding your own inner world with dignity, revealing yourself in ways that feel earned and authentic. When you do this, women feel intrigued. They want to lean in and know you more, not because you're evasive, but because you are whole unto yourself. Think about it. How often have you found yourself explaining too much too soon, maybe trying to justify your past, your intentions, your choices? In that rush to be known, you lose something essential, the organic unfolding that allows real connection to bloom naturally over time. The rare man allows space. He listens carefully and speaks thoughtfully, without rushing into self-disclosure. His words carry weight, not because he is loud or dominant, but because they are measured and sincere. He allows her to come toward him, to inquire, to discover who he is gradually, and that process itself builds deeper connection and desire. Women love this because it respects their intuition. It allows them to feel that they're being invited into your world rather than pushed into it. And it gives your interactions an emotional texture, a richness that makes every conversation feel meaningful, every glance charged with quiet possibility. And there's one more layer to this that makes it even more powerful: kindness without weakness. This is so subtle, so misunderstood, and yet so deeply attractive when done right. Many men confuse kindness with compliance. They think being nice means saying yes to everything, avoiding conflict, smoothing over disagreements, or putting her feelings before their own to an unhealthy degree. But women don't actually crave that kind of nice guy behavior. What they love, and what only a rare few men embody, is kindness that comes from strength. The man who is kind not because he's afraid of losing her, but because he's secure enough in himself to offer care, patience, and generosity from a place of abundance. This man's kindness doesn't look like self-sacrifice or appeasement. It looks like patience when emotions are high, compassion when she's struggling, and generosity when it's genuine. It's about showing care while remaining firmly rooted in your own values, desires, and limits. Women feel this distinction deeply. The nice guy who abandons himself to please her creates hidden resentment and erodes attraction over time. But the strong man who gives from fullness, without needing anything in return, becomes irresistible. His kindness is never an obligation, it's an authentic extension of his character, and that's why this quality is so rare. It requires a man to develop his own internal abundance first, to not give out of neediness or insecurity, but out of genuine goodwill. To say no when needed, and to say yes when it's honest and joyful. This kind of kindness is disarming. It creates a relationship dynamic that is balanced and healthy. She can trust you because she knows your kindness is not transactional. It's simply who you are when you're grounded and self-respecting. And when you combine all of this presence, detachment, congruence, leadership, assertiveness, mystery, and kindness from strength, you begin to embody what women quietly crave but so rarely find, a man who is emotionally solid, self-aware, and quietly powerful. This is the kind of man women describe when they say things like, "He just makes me feel safe and alive at the same time." It's not about grand gestures or sweeping declarations. It's about how you show up in the moment, every moment. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you stop trying to get her to like you, and you focus instead on mastering yourself in these ways, she is more likely to feel drawn to you naturally. Not because you're playing a game, but because you've become the kind of man who doesn't need to play games at all. This is what separates the rare high-value man from the masses, and it's why women respond to him differently. Conversations feel easier, conflicts feel less threatening, connection feels deeper and more meaningful. It all begins with the way you relate to yourself. Can you hold presence without distraction? Can you love without clinging? Can you express yourself without over-explaining? Can you lead emotionally without dominating? Can you offer kindness without losing your sense of self? These are subtle but powerful questions that form the heart of emotional mastery, and they are worth sitting with quietly as we continue. You can feel it, can't you? The quiet power that emerges when a man begins showing up this way, present, unattached, congruent, calmly assertive, wrapped in mystery, and kind without weakness. And yet there's one more layer that almost no one talks about, one more space that women long to feel a man inhabit fully, his relationship with desire itself. Desire can feel so misunderstood. Many men suppress it, afraid of being too forward or too intense. Others swing to the opposite extreme, expressing desire recklessly, as though intensity itself is a substitute for intimacy. But women love a man who is comfortable with his own desire, who holds it without rushing, who allows the tension of attraction to build rather than trying to collapse it too soon. When a man is deeply comfortable with wanting, not needy, not demanding, but fully accepting of his own masculine desire, he creates a space where a woman can feel free to want too. This is rare. So many men, without realizing it, communicate impatience, entitlement, or fear through their expression of desire. It comes across as grasping, as if their desire is a burden for her to manage rather than an invitation she can choose to accept. But that rare man, the 2% man, he simply stands in his own wanting, calmly, without pressure. He can say with his body, his gaze, his silence, "I want you and I am perfectly okay whether you meet me in that space or not." This is magnetic. It draws a woman in not because she's being pushed, but because the energy itself feels safe and exciting at the same time. And this is where your emotional mastery becomes most beautiful, when you allow desire to live in your body comfortably, with no rush, no apology, and no hidden agenda. This comfort with your own longing shows a woman that you trust yourself, and that trust allows her to feel free to lean in or hold back without drama or pressure. Women love this because it's rare to find a man whose desire feels clean, not manipulative, not desperate, not urgent, just a warm, steady pulse that holds space for possibility. And when you embody this, your interactions begin to shift in a profound way. Your compliments feel more genuine, your touch feels more intentional, your silences feel more comfortable. You're no longer acting out of need, you're acting from presence, and that changes everything. Even subtle things, a glance across a table, a pause in conversation, the way you lean in slightly when she's speaking, all carry a different quality when they're infused with this clean, grounded desire. This level of relating also rewrites how you handle rejection, which is another key that separates the rare man from the masses. When you're grounded in yourself and your own desire, rejection doesn't threaten your identity. You're not attaching your worth to any particular outcome. And because of that, you remain calm, centered, gracious. You don't need to chase or cling. You simply acknowledge what is, remain kind and self-respecting, and move on with grace. And here's the deeper truth, that calm confidence in the face of rejection is itself deeply attractive. Women can feel the difference between a man who collapses under rejection and a man who remains intact, whole, self-respecting. And they trust that kind of man more, not just in romantic situations, but in life generally. This is what it means to truly embody Hive, Alu masculine energy. You are no longer trapped in the cycle of needing her to respond in any particular way. You can enjoy connection when it arises, stay steady when it fades, and navigate every interaction from a place of quiet confidence. When you combine all of these qualities, presence, secure detachment, emotional congruence, emotional leadership, subtle assertiveness, appreciation for mystery, kindness without weakness, comfort with desire, you become a man who is both rare and deeply nourishing to be around. It's why women say things like, "There's just something about him." Even when they can't articulate exactly what that something is, it's not a line, it's not a trick, it's not even what you do. It's how you are. You become the man who is calm in uncertainty, grounded in conflict, relaxed in desire, gracious in rejection. And that emotional posture makes everything smoother, clearer, more joyful. Conversations don't feel like negotiations. Disagreements don't escalate into battles. Affection doesn't feel like a transaction. You're simply there, steady, open, whole, and that creates a different relational atmosphere. This is what only about 2% of men ever discover, that all the external advice, all the strategies, all the dating tactics are secondary. What matters most is the inner posture you bring to every interaction. Women respond primarily to that. They may talk about chemistry, connection, comfort, but what they're really feeling is your inner world showing up through your actions, your gaze, your silence, your steadiness. And this is where your journey truly begins, not as a performer trying to win approval, but as a grounded man who is so comfortable in his own skin that approval is no longer necessary. As we sit here together now, I invite you to pause and simply reflect. Where in your life are you suppressing your desire out of fear or shame? Where are you expressing it with urgency or anxiety? And where might you begin to simply stand in your wanting, calmly, gently, without needing anything in return? This is emotional mastery. This is rare masculine energy, and this is what women feel before you've even said a word. And so here we are, resting in this quiet, deeper space where something has shifted. By now, it's no longer about whether a woman likes you or responds in the way you hoped. It's about something more essential, your relationship with yourself, your emotional maturity, your grounded presence. And in that space, you discover a freedom that few men ever experience. When you become this rare man, you no longer fear the ups and downs of relationship dynamics. Her interest, her affection, her attention, they matter, yes. but they no longer define your worth or disturb your peace. You are able to receive her energy as a gift, not as a guarantee, not as proof of your value, but simply as something beautiful to enjoy in the present moment. This is the beautiful paradox at the heart of attraction. The less you chase approval, the more attractive you become. Not because you are indifferent, but because your attention comes from a place of choice, not need. And here's what I want you to sit with as we come to this final part together. What women ultimately love, but almost no man does consistently, is this level of calm, sovereign self-possession. The man who is not looking to be completed by her, but who comes as a complete man, the man who enjoys her company deeply, but could stand alone gracefully. The man who does not fall into patterns of blame, avoidance, or desperation when things get hard, but who stays steady, thoughtful, warm. This rare posture allows you to engage in relationships without losing your core. You don't disappear into people, pleasing behaviors, nor do you isolate behind walls of false stoicism. Instead, you're open but discerning, warm but strong, present but unattached, and what happens when you embody this energy is extraordinary. You'll notice women smiling at you differently, not because you're doing anything performative, but because your presence itself feels trustworthy and alive. Your conversations feel easier because you're not trying to win or impress. Your silences feel comfortable because you've made peace with your own mind. Women feel safe around a man like this, and safe in the deepest sense, not just physically or situationally safe, but emotionally safe. They know you won't manipulate, collapse, or cling. They know you will speak your truth calmly. They know you can hold space for them while still holding your own ground. This is what only 2% of men ever really offer, and that's why women respond to these men so differently, not just with attraction, but with respect, trust, and admiration. But here's the quiet truth. This isn't about them, it's about you. This whole journey we've taken together, these rare qualities we've explored, they are for you first. The emotional steadiness, the congruence, the healthy detachment, the subtle assertiveness, the calm ownership of desire, the kindness from strength, all of this creates a life where you feel better in your own skin, even when no one is watching. And when you feel better in your own skin, when you carry yourself with quiet dignity, when you engage with women not as a desperate seeker, but as a calm, grounded man, the landscape changes. You stop needing games, you stop seeking validation, you stop fearing rejection, because now you are coming from a place of truth, and women can feel that before you've even said a word. And as we wrap up this conversation, I want you to carry one final thought with you. You are always practicing. Every moment is an opportunity to practice presence. Every interaction is an invitation to embody congruence. Every difficult conversation is a chance to lead emotionally with grace. Every desire is a place to practice clean, calm ownership of your wanting. This is not about perfection, it's about embodiment. About becoming that rare man who doesn't just understand these ideas, but lives them consistently, not for the sake of performance, but because this way of being feels right, grounded, peaceful. And as you live from that space, women will feel it, and they will be drawn in ways you cannot predict, control, or force. That's part of the beauty. It's not a guarantee, but it is a path to authentic connection. So wherever you are right now, I want you to feel the depth of this invitation, not just to improve your dating life, but to elevate your entire way of relating to yourself and to others. You don't have to rush, you don't have to prove, you don't have to pretend, you just have to be present. Grounded, calm, open, because that's what women truly love, and what only about 2% of men ever embody fully. And if you feel called to this journey, trust that you're already on the path simply by being here, listening, reflecting, and holding these truths quietly in your heart. So let's pause right here, feel your breath, feel your feet on the ground, know that this is where it begins, not out there somewhere, but here now with you. If you found this conversation meaningful, I invite you to share your reflections in the comments. Your journey matters, and I'd love to hear where you are, what you're discovering about yourself, and what feels most alive for you right now. And if this conversation has resonated, go ahead and like the video, subscribe to the channel for more relationship insights, and join this community of thoughtful, grounded men committed to becoming the best versions of themselves. Here's to your calm, steady, powerful presence, and to the rare path you're now walking.